Welcome to Spectrum News at 4, coming to you live from Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital. My name is Ofonono Joseph. Let's take a look at the top stories. President Tinubu seeks increase in number of judges, sends judicial reform bills to Senate. Court strikes out Nnamdi Kanu'S motion seeking transfer from Sokoto prison. In other stories, India and EU announce landmark trade deal. Stay tuned for details of these stories and more after this timeout. Good afternoon. Welcome to Spectrum News at 4. We begin the news this hour from the national scene where President Bola Tinubu has requested the Senate approval for a series of judicial reforms aimed at increasing the number of judges across key courts in Nigeria. At the resumption of plenary today, Senate President Senator Godswill read a letter from President Tinubu in which he requested an amendment to the Court of Appeal Act to raise the number of justices from 70 to 110. The President cited the need to strengthen the court and address the growing volume of cases. He also transmitted a bill seeking amendments to the Federal High Court Act to increase the number of judges from 70 to 90, up from the original provision of 50 judges. President Tinubu urged the Senate to give the bill expedited consideration. The proposed amendments were referred to the Senate Committee on Rules and Business for further legislative action. In addition to the proposed increases, the President sought Senate confirmation of the appointment of Justice Oyewole Joseph Kayode as a Justice of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. From the legislature, the National Assembly has introduced a proposal in the ongoing amendment of electoral law that would give prison inmates in Nigeria the right to vote in elections. The leader of the Senate, Senator Okpeyemi Bamidele, gave the hint ahead of resumption of the national would mandate the release of funds for general elections at least 1 year before the day of the elections. Bamidele further revealed that the Electoral Bill 2025 introduces no fewer than 20 defining highlights that would eventually differentiate it from the previous electoral regimes. Now to the judiciary, where Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court, Abuja, has struck out an ex parte motion filed by the convicted leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, seeking his transfer from the Sokoto Correctional Facility. At today's proceedings, Kanu's legal representative, Nnamdi Asson, a senior legal officer of the Legal Aid Council, informed the court that he wished to withdraw from the matter, citing irreconcilable issues. He explained that since the last adjourned date, he had been in constant phone communication with the relatives of the applicant. However, the relatives did not show up at the legal aid office to depose to the application, despite phone calls and promises to appear. Nnamdi added that Kanu sought to dictate the proceedings and control what counsel would say in court. In the meantime, the National Industrial Court of Nigeria, sitting in Abuja, has granted an interlocutory injunction filed by the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, and the FCT administration, compelling workers under the Joint Union Action Committee to suspend their ongoing strike. The claimants had dragged the chairman of the Joint Union Action Committee, Rifkatu Ioteya, and its secretary Abdullahi Umar Saleh before the court, seeking an order restraining the defendants and their agents from embarking on any industrial action, picketing or lockout. Delivering his ruling today, Justice E.D. Subilim held that although the matter before the court amounted to a trade dispute and had met the required legal conditions, the defendant's right to embark on industrial action was not absolute. He ruled that workers were prohibited from participating in a strike once the dispute had been referred to the National Industrial Court, adding that where such a strike was already ongoing, it must cease pending the determination of the case. In a separate development, Nigeria's electricity grid has collapsed again today, plunging the country into a widespread blackout in the second such incident within 1 week this year. Data published on the official website of the Nigerian Independent System Operator NISO show that all major electricity distribution companies, DISCOs, were receiving 0 megawatts of power, underscoring the scale of the disruption. Eco Electricity Distribution Company EKEDC confirmed the system collapse in a notice to customers, stating that the outage occurred at 10:48 a.m. and resulted in a loss of supply across its entire network. The company said it is working closely with the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, to restore the grid and assured customers that updates will be provided as restoration efforts progress. On education matters, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board JAMB has approved 15 CBT centers in Jigawa State. This was contained in a statement issued by the board's Public Relations Officer, Jigawa State Office, Mukarama Damo, today. He said the approved CBT centers include State Headquarters, Mechanic Village, Federal University, Dutse, E-Learning Center 1, Federal University, Dutse, E-Learning Center 2, Federal University, Dutse, CBT-ICT, Bunyamin Usman Polytechnic, Hadejia Future Map Foundation, Hadejia and College of Education, Gumel Center 1. Also approved all Jigawa State College of Education, Gumel Center 2, State College of Advanced and Remedial Studies, Babura, Institute of Information Technology, Kazuare, Huseni Adamo Federal Polytechnic, Kazuare, Sule Lamido University, Kafin Hausa, BHT Intersystems Dutse, Al Hikma CBT Center, Benin Kudu, and G City College of Nursing Sciences, Guaram. Adamu noted that the UTME registration will begin from January 26, 2026 to February 28, 2026, while the registration will commence from 2nd March 2026 to 25th April 2026 at JAMB office only. The statement, however, urged the candidates to use the opportunity and register within the time frame. In Africa, the United Nations spokesperson Stephen Dujarric has announced the launch of an $852 million humanitarian needs and response plan for Somalia, which he said is 40% less than last year and aims to support 2.4 million people. Dujarric stressed that the reduction in funding is due to constrained resources, not reduced humanitarian needs. He noted that there will be significant gaps in essential services, as less than half of those in need of humanitarian aid will be able to receive help under the 2026 plan. The UN spokesperson added that without urgent and scaled-up assistance, the combined prolonged drought, livelihood collapse, displacement, disease outbreaks, and reduced humanitarian aid will worsen food insecurity, water shortages, and increase health risks. Moving now to the foreign scene, U.S. President Donald Trump has announced he is raising tariffs on South Korean imports to 25% after accusing Seoul of not living up to a trade deal reached last year. In a post on social media, Trump said he would increase levies on South Korea from 15% across a range of products, including automobiles, lumber, pharmaceuticals, and all other reciprocal tariffs. Trump noted that South Korean lawmakers have been slow to approve the deal, while U.S. acted swiftly to reduce its tariffs in line with the transaction agreed to. Meanwhile, South Korea said it had not been given official notice of the decision to raise tariffs on some of its goods and wanted urgent talks with Washington over the issue. It added that South Korea's industry minister, Kim Jung-kwan, who is currently in Canada, will visit Washington as soon as possible to meet U.S. Current Secretary Howard Lutnick. Still on the foreign scene, the European Union and India have announced a landmark trade deal after nearly 2 decades of on-off talks, as both sides aim to deepen ties amid tensions with the U.S. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen met this noon in a post on X. Von der Leyen and European Council President Antonio Costa are in Delhi, where they met Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi at a bilateral summit. Both India and the EU are seeking to strengthen strategic trade ties with the rest of the world as they contend with economic and geopolitical pressure from the U.S. Super Eagles forward Lawal joins Czech club Victoria Plzeň. Stay tuned for details of these stories and more after the short break. Welcome back, and we appreciate you for sticking with us. Now let's conclude on the rest of our news stories. On our business news, Dangote Refinery has announced a 100 of the retail price of premium motor spirit (PMS) nationwide. The company disclosed this in a statement yesterday. According to the $20 billion refinery plant, its Grand Prix price of petrol is now sold at 799 naira per litre, while the retail price is 839 naira per litre, up from 699 naira and 739 naira per litre sold since this year. The Chief Executive Officer of Dangote Petroleum Refinery, David Bird, stated that the refinery continues to support chains, adding that it is a clear signal of strengthening the National Task Force clinical governance and patient safety, warning that the current structure could undermine patient safety and sector-wide trust. They argue that the task force, which currently has 18 physicians, 1 pharmacist, 2 nurses, 1 administrator, and a representative of public interest, failed to reflect the multidisciplinary approach would strengthen health sector decision-making, foster collaboration among professionals, and ultimately improve health outcomes and ensure patient safety. Still in health, the Nigerian Association of Dermatologists has raised the alarm over a critical 2-year shortage of multi-drug therapy for leprosy patients across the country, warning that the absence of treatment is. The association disclosed that regulatory and administrative delays have prevented the clearance and distribution of essential medications, despite the procurement and donation through official World Health Organization approved channels. It noted that the prolonged unavailability of the life-saving drugs has left patients in multiple states without access to treatment, leading to severe nerve damage, disability, deformities, and continued community transmission. According to the WHO, leprosy, also known as Hansen disease, is a chronic bacterial infectious disease that affects the skin, peripheral nerves, upper respiratory tract, and the eyes, leading to physical deformity. In the world of sports, Salim Fago Lawal has joined ZEC First Division club Victoria Pleasant on a 3.5-year contract. Lawal moved to Victoria Pleasant from Crushing outfit NK Istra, and 23-year-old registered 15 goals and 2 assists. Still in sports, head coach of Nigeria's under-20 women's team, the Falconets, Moses Aduko, has expressed satisfaction with the team's preparations ahead of their 3rd-round FIFA under-20 Women's World Cup qualifying fixture against Senegal. Aduko told newsmen in Abuja that the week spent in camp had been productive, with all invited players reporting on time and responding positively to training sessions. He said the technical crew had focused on tactical organization, team cohesion, and overall strategy, adding that the players demonstrated commitment, discipline, and high intensity throughout the preparations. Reports say Nigeria will host the first leg of the encounter at Lekon Salami Stadium, Ibadan, on February 7, while the return leg is scheduled for February 14 in Dakar, Senegal. The Falconets, 2-time silver medalists at the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup and semi-finalists at the tournament in Japan 14 years ago, are expected to travel to Ibadan today to intensify preparations for the fixture. On entertainment, actor Gideon Okeke has criticized the entertainment industry for prioritizing Afrobeat stars over actors, actresses, and filmmakers. In a video on social media, Okeke questioned why musicians receive global recognition while Nollywood professionals are overlooked. He referenced top music stars wondering if they would acknowledge Nollywood talents if they looked beyond their circle. Okeke noted that despite Afrobeat's global attention, Nigerian films lack international exposure and endorsements, stating that influential figures aren't promoting Nollywood. And that's all we have for you at this time. Kindly follow us on all our social media handles and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.nj. You have been watching Spectrum News at 4. My name is Ofonono Joseph. Good afternoon and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.